The humidity in eastern Tennessee clings to you like guilt, thick, heavy, and impossible to shake off. It's a dampness that breeds secrets and whispers of things best left undisturbed. I've chased shadows across continents, navigated jungles choked with venomous life. But there's something about the Smoky Mountains, specifically the area around Jacksboro, that feels fundamentally wrong. A deep-seated unease, like a forgotten chord resonating within your bones. This started with the livestock mutilations near Rut Ledge, similar to Harmony Creek, but amplified tenfold. Not just cows and sheep, prize-winning show steers, horses, even a miniature donkey, all meticulously drained of blood, their bodies arranged in unsettling patterns on fields of dew-soaked grass. The locals called it the Weaver, a name steeped in the lore of Cherokee legends. A spirit said to steal the lifeblood of livestock or people and use it to weave tapestries of misfortune. Sheriff Hayes, a man whose face seemed permanently etched with exhaustion and a healthy dose of skepticism, reluctantly agreed to let me investigate. He'd seen enough unexplained disappearances and bizarre occurrences to know that sometimes silence was the best defense. "Just keep your eyes wide open," he said, his voice exasperated, "and don't go getting yourself killed out there in the holler." I brought along a special team this time, Elias Thorne, a former park ranger with an encyclopedic knowledge of Tennessee wilderness and a morbid fascination with local folklore, and Sarah Kahn, a neurolinguist specializing in deciphering anomalous patterns in language. She could detect subtle shifts in communication that indicated something beyond human understanding. We set up camp near the Obed Wild and Scenic River, a ribbon of turquoise slicing through the dense mountain foliage. The air hung heavy with the scent of pine, damp earth, and something metallic, almost like ozone after a lightning strike. Elias immediately began recounting Cherokee tales, stories of a shape-shifting spirit known as Taka, the weaver of souls, said to be born from the convergence of moonlight and mist in the deepest parts of the Smokies. The first concrete evidence came 3 days into our investigation. Sarah started noticing something odd in the radio chatter, snippets of conversations between local farmers, punctuated by fragmented phrases that seemed nonsensical at first. Then, as she began analyzing them, patterns emerged. The words weren't random, they were coded. Using a complex system based on Cherokee syllabary, Sarah translated them. The threads are spun. The pattern grows. It seeks the flow. Then we found it. What Elias described wasn't superstitious, it was unsettlingly precise. A series of natural formations, a confluence of 3 streams, a unique rock formation resembling an open hand, formed a geometric alignment that I knew in my bones could have no other explanation. This wasn't coincidence, it was intentional. Deep within a narrow ravine along the Obed, concealed behind a curtain of cascading water, was an enormous loom, crafted entirely from bone, branches, and what appeared to be human hair. It stretched nearly 50 feet across, suspended between 2 towering rock faces, and woven into its intricate frame were threads, not yarn or silk, but strands of blood. Each thread pulsed with a faint crimson light, connecting the patterns on the ground to the loom itself. As we approached, we noticed something else. Figures, both animalistic and humanoid shapes, draped in shrouds of woven hair, moving rhythmically around the loom. They weren't actively weaving. They were absorbed into the process, their bodies dissolving and merging with the crimson threads. And then we saw him. Emerging from the shadows beneath the loom was a creature unlike anything I'd ever encountered. Roughly 15 feet in stature, It resembled a section of ancient tree trunk, gnarled and twisted with moss and lichen. But instead of bark, its surface was covered in intricate patterns of bone and woven hair, the same material as the loom. Its head was a hollow cavity filled with swirling crimson light, the source of the blood threads. Within that light, we glimpsed fleeting images, faces contorted in terror, landscapes dissolving into mist, echoes of forgotten memories. It didn't move with limbs. It flowed, a slow, deliberate undulation that seemed to shift its entire form. Elias identified it as a manifestation of Taka, the weaver of souls. The creature didn't attack. It didn't even acknowledge our presence. It simply continued to weave. We realized this wasn't simply a creature that consumed souls. It was actively manipulating them. It didn't just steal life. It offered a perverse kind of peace, a dissolving into the fabric of its being, an escape from earthly suffering. That's why animals and people alike didn't resist. They weren't fighting. They were yielding. Sarah's equipment went haywire, picking up waves of intense energy and translating the fragmented conversations into a chilling, disharmonious chorus. I quickly realized with sickening clarity that we weren't just observers. We were potential prey. The creature wasn't hunting. It was consuming. It didn't need weapons or force. It simply needed to be near to absorb the life force of its victims into its ever-expanding tapestry. Now, Sarah had developed a complex sonic device based on modified frequencies designed to counteract the specific linguistic patterns emanating from Taka's victims. It was a long shot, but we were running out of options. She deftly fired it up and pointed the transceiver in the direction beneath the loom. The air grew thick with an oppressive stillness as the device activated, emitting a crescending, pulsating hum that seemed to vibrate through our bones. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then, slowly, subtly, the crimson light within Taka began to flicker. The rhythmic weaving of the loom stuttered, faltering for the first time. The figures draped in hair ceased their absorption. They simply stood there, frozen in a state of vacant acceptance. It was as if the creature was struggling to maintain its grip on the ritual. Yet, Taka didn't vanish. It simply shifted. It began to move towards us, not with aggression, but with an almost mournful grace. As it approached, we saw details we hadn't noticed before. Intricate carvings on its surface depicting scenes of life across generations. Landscapes ravaged by fire and flood. Faces etched with sorrow and loss. This creature had become inextricably linked to tragedy, to rooted anxiety, and drawn like a moth to a flame. The loom wasn't a tool for consumption. It was an attempt to preserve, to weave together the fragments of shattered lives into a single coherent narrative. We understood then that we weren't meant to fight it. We were meant to acknowledge its sorrow, to bear witness to its burden. I know what we saw, and I know that before and after our encounter, there in the heart of the Smoky Mountains, Taka continues to weave its tapestry of sorrow, feeding on the lifeblood of Tennessee, one soul at a time. Here's your warning. Don't listen for the rhythmic hum of the loom. And if you ever feel an overwhelming sense of loss, of being pulled into something vast and eerily accepting, turn around and run. Because in eastern Tennessee, some things are best left unwoven. And honestly, that hum still echoes in my ears.